Hello, I'm Matt Frawley. This is Mathey Talks. Today I am with Shawon Jackson, who is class of 15, and he was the former USG president, member of DZAC, very involved in the PACE Center, and he's also an RCA in Forbes College.
Yep.
So the big question is, now that a lot of that's over, you actually are sleeping. Is that correct? You are getting some sleep? Well, you just have your senior thesis, so,
yeah.
you can kick back and relax now.
Yeah, I can relax. I actually started sleeping a lot beginning of senior year, just because I got old. So I couldn't do it anymore. Junior year, I tried like 4 or 5 hours and it was pretty good. And then senior year, I would just pass out. So, but after the thesis is done, I plan on sleeping every night, 8 to 10 hours.
So when's the due date?
I'm hoping to be done April 3rd.
So April 3rd through March, through May 3rd. Yeah. That whole month of April, we won't see you.
Yeah, I'll just be in my bed the whole time. Or I'll be off campus.
All right.
But no, it'll be fun. It's the last time to finally enjoy Princeton and be around people and stuff. So got to make the most of it, I guess.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, we always start off Mathey Talks with a little history of the person I'm interviewing. So can you tell us about where you're from and how you ended up here at Princeton?
Yeah, I'm from University Park, Illinois. It's a very, very small suburb of Chicago, about 40 miles south of the city. I always tell people, I remember my dad driving 13 and a half hours to get here. To put them in context, I went to a math and science boarding school, so when I was applying to Princeton, I thought I wanted to be an engineer and did the engineering supplement and all that. And then my senior year, I was really involved with student council and some legislative work, so I was torn between being an engineer and then being like a politician and doing public policy. And eventually I decided to go the public policy route. And I saw the announcement the summer before my freshman year that the Woodrow Wilson School was not application-based anymore. Like, this is it, this is my calling. And then ever since I came in freshman year, I stuck with Woody Woo.
So you didn't even start as a BSc student?
Never started, yeah.
Okay.
As soon as we got the form saying, hey, what's your housing preferences and this, do you want to switch from BSc to AB, I clicked it right away. Because I thought about it a ton senior year. And the other thing I'd add is I applied through QuestBridge, which is a program that pairs low-income students to schools like Princeton. So thankfully I found out about Princeton early, which gave me all a second semester to really think about what I wanted to do at Princeton in terms of major choices and classes and stuff.
Second semester year?
Senior year of high school. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, so you arrive at Princeton and you immediately get involved in student government?
Yeah. The election to run for class senator, which is what I wanted to do, wasn't until November, but they had open meetings that people could go to, so it was always me and my really good friend who ended up being class senator with me. We were always in the meetings, kind of taking notes on everything, trying to figure out how we could join. And then I ran for class senator for USG in November that year.
Nice. And then any other, I know you've been involved in the PACE Center. Did that start right away as well?
Yeah, I started freshman year. I started off trying to do 3 different service projects that were all off campus. I was doing one where we were teaching English to immigrants from South America, another one we were teaching debate skills to high schoolers. I don't even remember what the third, the other one was like doing a tutoring program in the field center with people who are off campus. And at first I was like, oh yeah, it's all manageable until midterms came. And I quickly realized that I had to prioritize and couldn't do all of it. But I ended up getting really involved with Breakout because I went on my first Breakout trip to Oklahoma, a really weird place, which I had never heard about. I was like, I don't know if I want to go to Tulsa, Oklahoma. Best experience of my freshman year, probably one of, because it was a new place, the group was amazing, and we were learning about female incarceration. And I never thought much about criminal justice before, but there were so many connections to education, which I was passionate about. So that trip kind of got me involved with Breakout and leading my own trip and stuff. So it was worth it. Yeah.
So then, sophomore year, you joined DZAC.
Yeah, sophomore year, joined DZAC. I tried
did you try out freshman year?
I didn't. I tried out for BAC my freshman year, fall, spring, and fall of my sophomore year. Like, this is the company I want to be in. And sophomore spring.
So, and you didn't get in?
I didn't get in. So I didn't get in first time.
What were they thinking? I've seen you dance. What were they thinking?
I don't know what I was doing freshman year.
What were they thinking? Because,
I don't know. I mean, I definitely didn't do the choreo the right way. First time I tried out. Second time I tried out, I did the choreo the right way, and I heard through the grapevine that I did the dance the right way, but I didn't have the look, and so I was like, okay, maybe it's not the right fit or their style. And so sophomore year, I was just like, you know what the heck, I'll try out for all of the big 3. So I tried out for Body Hype, DZAC, and BAC. Ended up not getting a call back for BAC, and then thankfully ended up with DZAC now. So it's like, wow. And that's been awesome too. I never danced like as a professional dancer or anything. So I was just like, yeah, let's have fun.
I guess you didn't, had nothing to lose.
Exactly.
So you're
I was
more
just
relaxed.
like, yeah, have fun. Just like go out sophomore year, why not? Because freshman year is kind of like, oh, people are judging me. Sophomore year, it's like, oh, yeah, whatever.
Right. Cool.
Yeah, so it's good.
And so then, as a sophomore, then you're elected the USG president.
Yeah.
Wow. And then you start that spring semester, right? Wow. So okay. So then. So before, I want to spend some time talking about the USG president, but just to kind of get the chronology here. And then you say, why not add more responsibility and apply to be an RCA? You became an RCA your junior year, right?
Yeah, junior year.
So you were in the midst of interviewing to be an RCA while the USG.
Yeah, USG was just starting. Yeah.
Yeah. My goodness.
Yeah.
So okay, so come junior year. I see you in DZAC and am blown away. I mean, you were fantastic. You were really great. But you were in a lot of numbers, which is a ton of practice, choreography, just the rehearsals.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there like, RCA, USG president, and DZAC on top of your academic work. How did you manage that?
I didn't do it all. I got to a point where I realized I just have to say, okay, with all of my activities and what I'm doing, what matters the most out of all of those activities was the first question. So I know I want to do well in classes. I know if I'm an RCA, I need to be there for my Z's. I'm the only RCA they have. USG's the big thing, and then DSAC wanted to commit myself to. So I kind of said, okay, these are like the main things, and then pay center stuff. And then from there it says, okay, what do I need to do with each activity or within each class to make sure I'm like on top of my stuff and not killing myself. And it was very easy for USG to have like 10 projects and say I need to be the best in all of these projects. But by the time I got to junior year, it's just not possible. And so I ended up saying, okay, what are the like 2 things that I want to focus on, and then how about I delegate those other 8 projects to somebody else. So it was a lot to deal with, but the good thing was DZAC's schedule is very flexible, so they just say, hey, what are your conflicts, and then they build a schedule around you. After the beginning of the year, being an RCA is very flexible in that your Z's kind of reach out to you. You're not doing like one-on-ones the entire year, so that quieted it down a bit. And then USG, I just started kind of delegating to the people who proved that they could get stuff done. So it's like,
can I ask you a question about the delegating? My own experience, and then and talking to other people, delegating can be hard initially because you feel like you feel like you should be doing it, but in fact, it allows opportunities for other people to shine. Did you find that to be the case?
Yeah, that was the balance. My sophomore year, when I first started USG, I was very lucky both years actually that I had a very strong core team. So the vice president, director of communications, external affairs, the executive secretary, very top-notch people. And so what I would do is give them kind of a small task, like, hey, can you compile this document, or can you email me updates by like Sunday at 5? And if they got things done early and they showed that they were on top of their stuff, then you slowly give them things that's not just a task that I need done. It's kind of like, well, here's a project and you make it your own. And I found that was very useful because you see them growing, especially when they're like a freshman, and when I was a junior, you're like really excited.
Right.
And then it was also useful to delegate because I was able to practice a lot of feedback. And so after a project was done, we'll say, okay, what went well, what didn't go well. I started getting a lot of feedback about how I was delegating projects to other people so that I can improve. And without delegating, none of that would have been possible.
Right. People
wouldn't have grown as leaders. I wouldn't have gotten feedback as a leader. Everything would have been on me, and I would have been like, way too stressed, and things wouldn't have gotten done. So it's a tricky balance to make sure that you delegate to the right people. Definitely then delegate to everyone on the team, because some people are just like, well, it's not going to get done. But as long as there's like a core 3-4 people you can rely on, then it makes things a lot smoother.
And throughout that process, did you have anyone mentoring you or guiding you? Because it's hard to figure that out by yourself.
Yeah, I reached out to Michael Yalszewski, class of 2012.
Right.
When I first got elected, because he was also a sophomore when he started USG president. And I was asking him all these questions about how do I manage people who are older than me? Are they going to think I'm too young? Are they going to think I'm childish? And he gave a lot of good advice, so that was useful. And then Bernice Folcom, class of 2014, was like my big sister here. We went to high school together. She's actually the reason why I applied to Princeton. She said, you'll love it here, you need to apply. I was like, no, I don't want to apply to Ivy, so I'm not going to get in. I don't want to apply to them. And she was like, no, Shawon, do it. And then when I got here, she would kind of like keep me calm and say, don't do too many activities, don't do this, focus on a few things. And so having her was really, really nice. And then I actually found a lot of mentorship from people who are younger than me too. They have a different perspective and like happier generally. They're not stressed like juniors and seniors. And so talking to them and like opening up and being vulnerable, I found just as useful as talking to people who are older than me. Yeah.
So what did you discover about yourself through those 2 years as USG president? Or like, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses?
Yeah, it's a good question.
This is getting you ready for interviews, so even though you've been through the whole interview process.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that was crazy. I would say I realized that I like to work really, really, really quickly, even quicker than I realized. So I would work like on a project, for example, and some people would make a timeline to get things done over the entire semester. And in my mind, I just couldn't understand. I was like, we can get that done in 2 weeks. And so I like sit down with people and say, trying to like bring it down and say, okay, well maybe this isn't as high on the priority list as it is for me. So really understanding where people are coming from was a lesson I learned, and that everyone's not trying to move as quickly as me. And while I think it was useful that I wanted to get things done quickly, I think one setback that I had to work on was regularly updating people on what I was doing. So with USG I just wanted to do all these projects with different administrators and different students, meet with student groups, so I was just constantly kind of on the go. And then during our weekly meetings, I would just say, this is what I did, are there any questions? But I wouldn't go into all the nitty gritty of it. I thought it was inefficient. But then whenever I needed like a funding request or advice on a project, people were like, oh, well, we don't know the details of what you're doing. And then sometimes if I gave too many details, they're like, wait, we don't need to know that much. So figuring out what to tell the people you're working with so that they're on the same page as you can get feedback, but not burdening them with too much information was a balance I had to figure out over the last 2 years. Yeah. And then another useful thing that I took away from it was just how to mentor other people. A lot of it came down to empathy and sympathizing with them and asking them what do they want to get out of it, what are their current strengths, what are their current weaknesses, and when giving feedback, not just saying, hey, you did these things wrong, but kind of keeping it open-ended, saying, what do you think you did well, what did I do well, what didn't I do well, so that it's not top-down approach, but just kind of like we're on the same level learning from each other. So that was another thing that I like really, really liked.
Cool.
Yeah.
So now talk about your time as USG president, your administration.
It's so weird when people say administration.
I know.
I'm like, I'm 21. But,
so you come in, you have certain hopes.
Yeah.
What were your proudest achievements?
Yeah. It's interesting because I would say my proudest moments on USG were things I did not anticipate at all. You kind of come in with a few projects that you think are going to get done, but that ended up not being the case, and the biggest wins were things that just kind of came sporadically throughout the year. I would say two things come to mind. One is we recently held a summit on leadership and diversity. It was a leadership education and diversity summit where we brought together about 30 students to go to Pocono, and we gave them like diversity workshop training, leadership training workshops with recent alumni, and then we had different panels on diversity and leadership. And it came out of our Committee on Diversity and Equity, which was a new committee on USG. I was really excited that it was a new program, a new committee, and we were planning the summit before all the conversations about diversity started last semester, but that even gave us more motivation to say, okay, this has to happen now, we really need this. And bringing together leadership with diversity, which people kind of talk about together, but not really thinking about it critically, was something that I was very, very proud of. And I liked not just the output, but also how we got things done. It was just me and two other people. Ozzy, who's a junior, and Albert, who's a senior. And we were all like very critical of each other, but very nice to each other, and like getting things done quickly. So I was like, okay, this is my type of working environment. Right. So that was good. And then the second thing was probably the Princeton Perspective Project. And I think there's a lot more that needs to be done. Like we just started in November, kind of saw this big boom of people saying, yeah, we need to talk more about effortless perfection. People don't have it together. I definitely don't have it together. But then after we did this huge launch, you see kind of a dip. Like winter break is coming, people are kind of forgetting about it. So I'm looking forward to what the next team is going to do this year. They're planning a huge event in April where people are going to be opening up about their stories. And I'm glad that we're finally changing culture in that way. And I was even more glad that we were able to work with the administrators so closely on it. They were like interviewing with us late at night to pick people for the team, helping us film videos. And I was like, wow, like Princeton administrators really like care, and they're there with you and stuff. So that was nice. that was nice to be around. And both ideas weren't mine.
Right.
And so it was like, okay, I had these ideas coming in, but the best projects actually might come when other people bring them to you, and then you just help execute it.
So let me ask the flip side of that.
Okay.
Your greatest frustrations
I have plenty.
of your time as the USG president?
I would say we had a lot of issues around the Constitution, and like it's like all technical, formal language. Are we allowed to do this? Can we motion to do this? And my personal feeling was, I understood why we have the Constitution there. Clearly, like you need protocol, but at the end of the day, I believe in establishing a mission, kind of doing whatever it takes, ethically, of course, to get there. And so dealing with all the nitty gritty along the way, I was kind of like, is this necessary? It's kind of like taking away from other things. And I didn't know the Constitution super well, and so there were times where I would do something that was not in procedure, and then be like, Shawon, you didn't do this. Why didn't you bring this to the executive committee before you brought it to the Senate? Why didn't you talk to us about this? Why didn't you do a vote on this? And I was just kind of overwhelmed, saying, I'm the president. I'm supposed to know this. Does it actually matter? They think it matters. I'm trying to like handle all of that, and so it's kind of annoying at times to put up with comments like, oh, he didn't do this, but I guess I learned something out of it. I like figured out how to respond to like the negative criticism, especially when it wasn't in like a constructive manner that I was used to giving and receiving. So you grow from it.
So let me ask, for students out there who are like, USG, you know, what's going on?
It
Which I know
it doesn't
matter. How do you respond to that? How do you say, no, it really does matter? Or what and within that, what do people, what do students not appreciate about the USG?
Yeah, the first thing I usually think and sometimes say to people is like, I totally get it. Like, if I weren't in USG, I wouldn't know about all the things that we actually work on and all the things that we can do. And so when people are like, oh, USG doesn't actually do anything, I get where they're coming from, because our weekly emails aren't saying we did this policy and this and this. We just kind of gave updates when we had a big win. The things that I think people don't think about too much are the long-term policy proposals. And so a lot of times, for example, after we talked about the sexual misconduct stuff at the beginning of this year, that was something that we started back in, June or maybe July, August. And so we had like phone calls saying, we need to work on this policy proposal. Some of the content's confidential. We can't really talk about everything that's going on. And then we're having meetings back to back to back, like going through all the aspects of the policy, kind of saying students won't understand this and that. And then we just send one email saying, hey, here are the changes. And so I guess people don't realize kind of how long we're working on things. And the output may not be as great as people want, but the work is definitely being done by some of the people in USG. I think a lot of people kind of default to lawn parties as the main thing we work on, which is a big thing we work on. But there are a ton of projects behind the scene that go on as well. So for me, it was rewarding, because even if people don't know that you're doing all this work, the fact that they're even a little bit happier by the work that you're doing, if you're not even being acknowledged for it, is worth it in the end. So it was good. Yeah, and now they kicked me off, but.
So here you are, spring semester, senior year, and I'm sure you're just, like probably having that very common experience of like, oh my goodness, it's over. What would you tell yourself if you could go back to your spring semester, senior year of high school, in terms of preparation for college, or how you would, just a couple pieces of advice you would give yourself?
I would tell myself, be very open to everything, and that you will probably change. I don't think I've changed like too much from high school to now in terms of like the things I'm passionate about and care about, but I think it's very easy to say. For example, I went to a math and science course. It's like, I want to be an engineer, I need to do this. And then I get here and I learned all these things about education policy, learned all these things about criminal justice. And my friends were talking about their experiences in Hong Kong, in California, and it was so much. And I think kind of being open to different social experiences and different things within the classroom and outside of the classroom helped me articulate what my purpose is, and that is going to pay off so much in the long run. And then the other advice about you'll likely change, people kind of say like college you're going to change so much. And coming in, I was like, I actually think I'll change like too much. And personality wise, I don't think I did, but looking back, I wasn't, like now I'm gay, I wasn't gay in high school, I didn't identify as such. I would say like my perspectives on politics have become like a lot more nuanced, like much more liberal than I probably was in high school. I was still like pretty liberal in high school. My friend groups have like changed. I have more friends like internationally, and I have more perspectives on different ethical issues based on like what I hear different countries are doing. Traveling to all these different countries and seeing like what poverty really looks like in one place has made me question what my own identity is as a low-income student and how privileged I actually am. And so just telling myself senior year of high school, be open-minded to everything. You're probably going to change, but it's all fine. Like you'll be fine in the end, and like it's all worth it.
So just students might be interested in what's going to happen with you next year and after that. So can you kind of just tell your plans?
I'll be in the Dominican Republic. I'm really excited through Princeton in Latin America, and I'll be working with a nonprofit.
That's for next year or the summer?
Yeah, for next year. So I start on June 15th, and then I'll be there until...
Wow, so you just get like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then you're off you go.
I can't be home too long. I'm excited to go. And then I'll be there from June 2015 until the end of July 2016, and I'll be working with a nonprofit called the Dream Project, which is Dominican Republic Education and Mentorship, and helping with the youth workforce program, getting 18 and 24-year-olds jobs, and helping with data and evaluation for the nonprofit. And then I'll be with Deloitte after that doing federal consulting, and who knows where I'll be in the long run, hopefully doing education policy work or in the government.
Okay.
So I'll be back for reunions.
Reunions, good.
Yeah.
So I guess we're running out of time. So I think I really appreciate the time, and it's good to see that you got over. I know how heartbroken you were when Mathey College won the Clash of the Colleges. So I know that was tough for you. So, but it's just good to see that you've recovered nicely.
And who won the year before again?
I can't remember.
I think it was Forbes.
Forbes?
Yeah. And who has the best Sunday brunch?
Sunday brunch?
Yeah.
I don't know, it's debatable. I think other colleges have caught up.
It's Forbes too.
That's right. So anyway, well, I thought Forbes was great at Clash of the Colleges. It was,
the dance battle was fun.
What's that?
The dance battle was fun.
Oh, I know. I don't think President Eisgruber heard my joke. I said something about how, that you stole his dance moves.
Oh.
But it's cacophonous in there, and you can't really hear. So Shawon did this amazing. You led the Forbes.
Just to Beyonce.
And it was great. I was impressed. Yeah. And I was shocked that Mathey College won. Actually, everyone thinks that I fixed it somehow.
You do. You got second the year before.
Right. Well, the first year, I think that was the fourth year.
That wasn't because my first year was my freshman year.
Yeah, I think Forbes and Mathey tied. We both won. That's right. And then the second, then I think Butler won the second year, or Wilson.
Okay.
I think Wilson won, and then Forbes won, and then Mathey won last year. And after that, everyone's like, "Oh, you fixed it," because I MC the event, and I'm like,
"Okay,
no, that's what we want to think." But no, it was great. But it's as I said, the RCAs are amazing, and the Forbes. I mean, all the RCAs were great.
Very
it's a lot of fun.
Bunch.
Yeah. So. Shawon, I just really want to thank you,
thank you
for this time,
but
just thank you for your time here at Princeton. You've been one of those students who've really had such an amazing impact.
Thank you.
And you're just a great guy. I wish you all the best in years to come. And I hope I get to see you in your reunions.
Yes, you'll see me around, all black and orange, I'm sure.
No doubt, no doubt. All right, thanks.